Imagine this, your best friend is getting married, your family is celebrating a huge milestone, or all your mates are out having the time of their lives, and you're not there. Not because you don't want to be, but because you can't be. While they're making memories, you're waking up at 5 AM for training. While they're out late, you're in bed recovering. And over time, the invites stop coming. People start calling you boring. Friends drift away, and you start to realize that being great isn't just about what you do. It's about what you give up. Most athletes don't think about this when they chase success, but this is where they fail. They try to have it all, and that's why they never make it. I've seen it firsthand working with elite athletes. The ones who rise to the top are the ones who accept this brutal trade-off, and the ones who don't, well, they cling to the idea of balance, and they get left behind. So today I'm going to break down why social sacrifice is unavoidable as an athlete, and how you can better handle it if you're truly serious about pursuing your biggest athletic goals. So let's get started. So look, the moment you decide to chase greatness, you step outside the norm. The average person values social connection, spontaneity, and being part of a group. But elite athletes, well, their lives revolve around deliberate practice, recovery, and performance optimization. And this creates a big identity shift. You no longer fit the same social mold as normal people because you're doing something that is abnormal. Everything in your life is so fixed, you can't just drop everything for that random night out or that weekend trip with the boys or girls. So your priorities begin to clash with those of your peers. You're not avoiding them because you don't care. Your lifestyle just simply doesn't align with theirs anymore. But here's where it gets tough. Humans are wired for social belonging. Psychologists call this the need for affiliation. We crave connection and acceptance. So when friends start calling you boring or you feel left out, it triggers discomfort. This is what makes social sacrifice so painful. Your brain perceives exclusion as a threat. And research shows that social rejection activates the same brain regions as physical pain. And so there's this cognitive dissonance that arises. On the one hand, you want to be elite, but you also want to maintain relationships and enjoy social moments. Most athletes try to resolve this by convincing themselves that they can do both. But this is where they fall into a huge trap. The honest reality is you can't do it all. Every late night, every missed training session, or every moment of fatigue, it stacks up. And in elite sport, those small sacrifices compound into the difference between winning and losing. This is why so many athletes fail. They underestimate the cost. They think that discipline is just about training hard, but real discipline, it's about saying no. So how do you handle this trade-off without feeling miserable? Well, there's 4 key things that I recommend my athletes do so that they still maintain some sense of social life, but in a way that is not directly harmful for performance. Because you can't just completely shut yourself off from the world and lock in 24/7. All of us need good social relationships to function our best as humans, let alone as athletes. So take these tips with the mindset of, I'm still making huge social sacrifice, but I'm still maintaining relationships with people who I truly value. Right, so first up is absolutely essential to choose your inner circle wisely. One of the biggest mistakes athletes make is trying to hold on to friendships with people who just don't get it. The reality is not everyone will respect your sacrifices, and some will even try to make you feel guilty for them. So you want to surround yourself with people who truly support your journey. Friends who appreciate the level of commitment that it actually takes, and they don't try and gaslight you for not always being available. Maybe they're also deeply committed to something. They're aspiring entrepreneurs going down some creative pursuit or just their own version of excellence. People who also truly understand that success requires sacrifice, so they don't end up taking it personally when you can't just drop everything to hang out with them. This kind of support is a game changer. It means that you actually feel understood rather than feeling isolated, and you don't carry guilt for prioritizing your goals. When you have the right people around you, you don't feel like you're constantly having to explain yourself. Now contrast that with bad, selfish friends, the ones who try to guilt trip you every time that you say no. The ones who make snide comments like, oh, you think you're too good for us now, or come on, one night won't kill you. These people aren't just unsupportive, they're often jealous. They don't have something in their own life that drives them the same way that sport drives you. And instead of dealing with that personal conflict, instead they displace their frustration onto you. So look, the bottom line is, if someone can't respect your mission, they don't belong in your corner in life anymore. It doesn't matter if you've been friends with people for 5, 10, maybe even 15 years. If they don't get it and always try to make you feel bad about pursuing your dream, then they're not your friends anymore. That relationship has run its course, and that's completely fine. That's life. But the right people will push you forward and never try to hold you back. Right, so next up, it's also super important to set clear boundaries and communicate early. One of the biggest reasons athletes struggle with social sacrifice is because they don't set expectations early. Instead, they just keep saying no over and over again until people start feeling rejected, annoyed, or even resentful. But most of this conflict can be easily avoided with clear communication from the start. If you let people know what your lifestyle demands, they're far more likely to respect it. Instead of constantly declining last-minute invites, just set the boundary early with something like, hey, my schedule is locked in with training, recovery, and early mornings. so I won't be available for nights out over the next few months. But let's plan a big trip after my next major tournament. This is something the tennis player Danielle Collins does. She revealed that she funded a luxury trip to the Bahamas for her and her girlfriends from the prize money that she won at the 2025 Australian Open. I'm pretty sure her friends didn't mind not seeing her for a few months before while she prepared and locked in for this tournament. So look, this way you're not just saying no, you're giving people context. It stops them from assuming that you're just uninterested or avoiding them, and it shifts the dynamic from guilt to mutual understanding. And here's the thing, most people don't actually need you to say yes all the time. They just want to feel like they matter to you. By communicating your boundaries without just disappearing, you will help them understand that it's not personal. And the next thing you've got to do is learn to say no without guilt. Saying no is one of the hardest skills an athlete has to master. Not because the word itself is difficult, but because of the guilt that comes with it. Every time you turn down an invite, skip an event, or choose recovery over a night out, it feels like you're letting people down. And if you're not careful, that guilt starts to eat away at you. But here's the truth, no is the price of greatness. Every elite athlete has had to make this trade. The difference between those who succeed and those who fall short is that the best don't apologize for it. When you say no, don't over-explain. A simple "I can't, I've got training," or "I need to rest" is enough. The moment you start justifying your decision, you open the door for people to argue against it. You don't owe anyone an essay on why you're prioritizing your goals. And if people try to guilt trip you, well, that's on them, not you. A lot of the time, they're not actually upset with you, they're frustrated with themselves. They see your discipline, your commitment, and deep down, they know that they don't have that same drive. So instead of supporting you, they will try to pull you back down. So this is where you have to be a bit ruthless, not necessarily with your words, but with your mindset. Saying no isn't being selfish, it's self-respect. It's recognizing that every time that you say yes to something that doesn't actually serve your goals, well, you're saying no to your future. So stop feeling guilty. Again, go back to what we said earlier. The people who matter will understand. The ones who don't, well, they were never really in your corner to begin with. And then the next thing that is absolutely crucial is to make peace with missing out. One of the toughest mental hurdles athletes face is FOMO, the fear of missing out. It's the feeling that everyone else is out there having fun whilst you're stuck at home, in the gym, or out on the field. Your friends are living their best lives and you're forced to miss out on what seems like absolutely everything. It's easy to feel isolated and start questioning whether it's all worth it. But here's the truth, missing out is a necessary part of the process. The key to making peace with it lies in how you evaluate and weigh your decisions. In psychology, we talk about the idea of congruence versus incongruence. Congruence refers to when your thoughts, actions, and feelings fully align with your values and goals. Whereas incongruence, on the other hand, is when you're pulled in different directions. You're wanting one thing, but doing something that goes against it. So if you're constantly battling yourself over missing out, then you're in a state of incongruence. You might want to be the best athlete you can possibly be, but you're also letting those invitations, those nights out, cloud your vision. You start to feel torn. I should be at this party, but I should be at training. This inner conflict can lead to frustration, stress, and burnout. However, when you become at peace with missing out, you step into congruence. You realize that every opportunity that you turn down is a conscious choice to move towards your biggest goals. Instead of focusing on what you're sacrificing, you're starting to see the gains. The night out you pass on is another morning of better performance. The party you don't go to is another step closer to your dream. This mindset doesn't mean that you're a robot or that you can never experience fun or joy. It just means that you've shifted your focus to what truly matters, and you no longer feel torn between the two. So the next time you're faced with a choice between socializing or sacrificing for your goals, just remember, making peace with missing out isn't about never having fun. It's just about understanding the bigger picture and aligning your actions with your deepest values. That's how you achieve congruence and ultimately success. And becoming congruent is one of the most game-changing habits that every athlete should aspire to achieve. But it is a process that is easier said than done. So to help you start making this shift, you should check out this video next.